Aloha, everyone. I'm Chris Lethem, and this is The Economy and You, and welcome to today's show. Today's guest is Rechung Fujihara from the BoxJelly. Ray just came back from the mainland, where he was checking out some of the other shared workspaces, and so we thought we would have Rechung come on and talk a little bit about what he's learning, some of the experience he's had, and some of the challenges that some of the other startups and or shared workspaces are having, and some of the things that they're doing to grow their organizations. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. So anyway, so talking about all the things that are going on, I thought maybe you might start off with just give us a little bit of a short synopsis of the BoxJelly and some of the things that you're involved in.
Sure. So, BoxJelly, basically it's first co-working space in Hawaii. We started it out as kind of a project out of the Hogan program in Chaminade University, and it was like our senior project, and it grew into, a co-working space. And basically it's a place for people who, are professional, independent, and they can go and they can work on whatever they normally work at home or Starbucks, and they can do it in a community of other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of the things I found interesting, the first time I came to the BoxJelly, you were having a startup weekend.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember that event because when I walked in, I noticed that it was a little bit stark. It's concrete floor. You've got desks, and desks are sort of situated in different positions. And at that time, I think there was like a big round coffee table or something in the middle. But there was a lot of enthusiasm, and this was all part of a startup weekend where everybody got together and was talking about all the different sort of weird and wonderful ideas that they had for a new business startup. And I think the thing that I found interesting or attractive to me was the energy that was coming out of the place. And, the enthusiasm and the people sort of having ideas. And some of the ideas were interesting. Some of them seemed like a little bit of duplication from other things I had seen, but the fact that they were willing to put all their energy and effort into 3 days of working like crazy, I thought was really exciting.
Yeah, Startup Week is amazing. Yeah, it's been growing a lot. I participated in the first Startup Weekend, which was right around here at the University of Phoenix, and that was a couple years ago. And just like seeing it grow. Went to Maui, saw it out there, and they had like really great ideas. I was really, really impressed. And yeah, it just continues to keep growing, and Brian and the team over there are doing a really, really good job. Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked to see what happens next.
Well, now you've not had all successes though. Didn't you try to set up something in Kailua and then that?
Well, yeah. Yeah, so that's funny you brought that up. Yeah, so we had a co-working space in Kailua, and basically it failed. It was interesting. It was kind of like an experiment, and I think there are several reasons why it didn't really work. And one of them was that it was like, oh, it's a great idea because people on that side don't have to drive into town. They could just be over there.
Right.
But what that meant was that we had to drive over there, and that didn't really work out too well. We didn't want to keep driving over there, and it was tough to keep build a community, because a lot of what we do is we build a community inside a space.
Right.
And it's hard to do that if we're separated in between two different places, especially with the size of the team, which is basically me and Tony at the time. So yeah, that didn't work, but you never know. We might have another crack at it one day. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you sort of learn in this sort of entrepreneurial environment is that it's okay to fail. You learn from your mistakes, and the fact that you tried it and maybe you didn't have the success, but still you learned something from the process.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's funny because we're talking a little bit about like my thinking on startup philosophy. And it's all this like failure is okay, and it's like failure, yeah, it's okay, whatever. But I don't really think it's about failure, but it's more about trying.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And if people focus on the failure, then your mind's like thinking fail, so you're going to fail. But why not think about, hey, let's try this out and work to succeed? Because a lot of times there's like failing fast, and there's like sticking to things and making things happen. And sometimes you know, it's that point that you would give up, that if you just went a little bit further, you would see the other side of the light. But if you're thinking I should just be failing, then you're just gonna.
You're not sure if the light at the end of the tunnel is actually the light at the end of the tunnel or a train coming at you.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, but it might be like a self-fulfilling prophecy for a lot of companies that have a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think, well, you know, there is the sticking it out. Sometimes, though, it causes you to come back and re-examine your business model and the assumptions that you made.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely necessary.
Yeah. But you just came back from the Bay Area, or was it?
Came out, yeah, I'm from California, so mostly in the Bay. I went to LA a couple times.
LA too. Okay, so Southern California and the Bay Area. So when you were over there, and you know, there's this sort of whole ecosystem in the Bay Area of technology. You can't walk into a Starbucks without running into people who are writing code somewhere. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So my thought is when you were over there, what did you see, and what was your goal in going over there this time?
Well, I mean, there are a few things I wanted to do while I was up there. One was check out other co-working spaces, particularly one that had a really high valuation of like $5 billion. I'm like, what does a $5 billion co-working space look like, or a chain of co-working spaces look like? So I was a member there, kind of like looking at their systems and trying to figure out what made them tick. A lot of assumptions, like, it's like, yeah, okay, we understand that, and they're doing it, which is good. A lot of retail shops for both. I'm working on a project with a friend, helping him with Moon Collective, which is like a clothing company. And also I'm helping out at Fish Cake, which is a furniture boutique art gallery, and also an interior design studio. So I probably went to about 6 dozen different stores, like a lot of stores, just checking things out, manufacturers.
And these are stores or manufacturers within a co-working space environment?
No, just in the cities.
Just in the
both
cities.
in LA and in San Francisco mostly. I went to a lot of different places, coffee shops, just really trying to pick up the vibe. Bookstores, there were like a lot of bookstores. I missed that about here. There were like no bookstores. There's only Barnes and Nobles, which is pretty sad.
So
but anyways,
maybe that's an idea. Maybe what we need to do is figure out a way to incorporate a bookstore into.
Yeah, I think a bookstore could be cool.
Yeah, I love bookstores. I love going into a bookstore with lots of old books.
Yeah.
There's something about the environment, or the sort of the I don't know if it's the smell or
yeah.
You know, it's a mix of old books and coffee shop. You know, kind of combined together. It's just pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, those things are really what makes it special.
Yeah. And of course, if it's going to be a place like the BoxJelly, it needs to all be computer programming and networking books and business books.
Yeah, the thing that's great is, I think, seeing different types of things that inspire, right?
Yes.
And drawing inspiration from different places. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. Like, it was crazy because I had two kind of groups of friends, like the startup friends, and then I had like the local people friends that grew up in San Francisco, and there was like a big divide between like this kind of weird, I don't know if it was like, there was a big divide.
So would you say they have different agendas, or they operate sort of?
Yeah, I mean, basically it was like, for the startup people, they're there like trying to change the world, you know. Sometimes it worked out well, sometimes it's like making the next Uber for cats or whatever. You know, like ridiculous valuations. And then, but yeah, there are actually some people doing some really good things out there too. And then, and then the local people who are basically being kicked out of their city because the rents are like skyrocketing.
Yes.
And a lot of like bad drivers in the buses and all these things.
Well, San Francisco is sort of known, but you know, you've got a challenge because you've got all the trolleys. You got the bicyclists who wear black. Of course, you know, in San Francisco, everybody wears black. Which, of course, if you're on a bicycle at night, probably not your best plan.
Not a good plan.
Yeah. But of course, if you almost hit them, they're going to blame you. So it's not necessarily that they're going to accept responsibility for that. You know. So.
Yeah, it's real. You got to pay attention, man.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting place, and you know, there's a lot of meetups. You know, when I lived in the Bay Area, we were going to meetups all the time, and it was a great way to meet people, see what other people were doing, and then look for opportunities to build on that dynamic.
Sure.
You know, I remember I attended a meetup, and there was a girl that was working on a sharing platform for students to study. So you could log on to the system, because her inspiration was that she was staying up until 1 in the morning studying, and she felt like she must be the only person in the world staying up and studying till 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so she was looking for an opportunity to be able to engage other students who were studying the same topic, so they could collaborate. So sort of social media, getting through the coursework, using social media. That way. So lots of, and the great thing is that when you go to places like the Bay Area where you have all these people working, it gets your creative juices flowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of inspirational things out there to see and do.
Yeah.
People to meet.
And I guess too. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. We got this is a photo of a place called Blank Spaces. Where is this at? Los Angeles.
Yeah, it looks like Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Blank Spaces. Okay, so Blank Spaces, came back. Yeah, that was one of the first places that we went to before we started BoxJelly. A guy named Jerome started it, and very professional space. So this particular space is, I think he's like an architect by trade, so it's designed pretty well and just very clean, but also very business-like. Yeah, that was a cool space.
Yeah. So it was by visiting. I suppose your inspiration for the BoxJelly was going to see places like this.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was a place like that, WeWork City, but really it just started as trying to build a airport lounge outside of an airport, right? Like, I always tell the story, but it's like, basically that's what we wanted to do, and it just evolved into something a lot bigger than what we had ever imagined.
But it's still evolving, One of the things, every time I go into the BoxJelly, something's different.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so we're in the middle of a new revamp.
I love the coffee shop, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Morning Glass.
Yeah,
Morning Glass coffee.
Is really great.
Inside Fish Cake, 307A Kamani Street. But yeah, no, they make great coffee. I didn't drink coffee until we had Morning Glass. Like I was like staunch, like no coffee person. But the coffee just tastes really good. So now I drink coffee. I'm up to half a cup a day.
And then you have a meetup. I
would like to stay there.
Half a cup a day, and then you said there's a meetup at the Fish Cake. Is there
we have meetups.
Okay, here's one. This is Bow Wow.
Oh, the pop-up. Bow Wow meets,
at Fish Cake.
What
was that?
Yeah, so it was about bringing people who, it was like kind of like we do this thing called Fish Market, and this was kind of like a bunch of people who do things with pets, and you can get your pet's picture taken. That there is a young Mimi Falcor, who is our mascot. And,
is that right?
And, Reese's dog. Reese is an awesome guy, and
very cute.
Yeah, super cute cute dog.
We're going to go to commercial. I'm Chris Lethem. This show is called The Economy and You. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Aloha. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Chris Lethem. This is The Economy and You with ThinkTech Hawaii. Thanks to Jay Fidel and Zuri and everyone here. I would like to sort of say thanks for letting me have this really wonderful opportunity to present different things that are going on in the community. Today's guest is Rechung Fujihara from the BoxJelly. We've been talking a little bit about some of the things that are going on in the Bay Area, startups and new businesses that are thriving in this sort of high-tech community in that ecosystem. And Rechung was just there visiting, Ray, and we were talking about some of the sites that you went, some of the things that you went to see, and so kind of give me, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the new ideas or sort of inspirations that you got out of this trip. Maybe some assumptions that you had made that either were proven right or proven to be not so right.
Well, I haven't really shared this publicly yet, but like I guess it was really interesting. So I was talking about this like kind of divide earlier, right? So it's like these two kind of groups of people and kind of thinking about BoxJelly and its place, and we've worked really hard to help build startup ecosystem in Hawaii, and just really thinking about what really makes a place special.
By the way, for that I have to say thank you. You really are doing great work. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
What makes a place special and what's best and how our approach, for the islands, especially Honolulu, our city.
Yeah.
And the things that really stood out were a lot of the small businesses, coffee, like I said, coffee shops, restaurants, bookstores, a lot of these kind of little things. And so I'm kind of thinking about, how we can use the techniques and things that we learned through what we've done in startup entrepreneurship, and apply them to smaller businesses or different types of businesses. And it's interesting just kind of looking at, what's been happening, with the startups in Hawaii and seeing that, a lot of the best teams, when they get their certain round of funding, they leave. Hopefully they come back, but,
Is that because of when they leave, is it because of the challenges with getting to the next level here in Hawaii?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely challenges. So kind of one of the reasons why I'm diving in and helping out with Moon Collective is kind of to like get more hands-on experience in scaling a company. Not a tech company, but we do a lot of e-commerce. A lot of our sales are over the internet, and it's interesting because when we're thinking about production, we love to do production in Hawaii.
Yeah.
We print all our shirts here in Hawaii. All our shirts are American made. All our hats, most of our hats are American made, and we're trying to switch them so they're all American made. But shipping a shirt from California to Hawaii, printing it, and then sending it back to the mainland, you lose a lot of money that way.
That's right.
So it's like, think about, okay, well, how can we leverage the advantages of Hawaii but also like be smart and be smart in business?
Well, we have a thriving design community, right, here in Hawaii. I mean, we have the schools that teach dressmaking or tailoring, or I'm not sure how you, seamstress schools where people do fashion work.
That's another rough spot too, because we do have some people who are talented here.
Yes.
But also manufacturing is in LA, right? So you got to go back and forth to LA. So it's like, and I'm committed to being in Hawaii, so I'm just trying to figure out how to work with these problems. And
so when you say manufacturing, the actual stitching of the cutting, the stitching, putting the pattern together.
Yeah. So for instance, like we were in LA making a new jacket, right? And they have like these buildings. They're just buildings full of people, and every floor there's just like people making this. Like these people are like tailors. These people are this.
So maybe
it's just the scale. Like you can't.
It's just a huge scale.
Yeah, there's not a lot of manufacturing here, and it's not, even with like prototyping and stuff, it's not that easy to do here. There are not a lot of materials here, so it's just like really learning. What are the advantages, and how can we leverage the advantages of here, and how can we leverage what's going on there?
Well, that's interesting, because I met a gentleman. I don't know if Zuri, you have that image of a company, one of the companies, Clever Dog.
Clever Dog, yeah.
Now, what is it that Clever Dog does?
Co-working.
They're a co-working space, and they're located where?
In LA.
In LA, okay. So the co-working spaces in LA, are they working with people in the garment industry?
Well, I think this is kind of touches on another subject, but now that co-working is hitting some kind of like mass, we're able to segment. I think that's one of the things that's really exciting for me.
So by hitting critical mass, you now can divide into more specialized
more
areas.
Specialized areas.
Oh,
so
very
before,
interesting.
like with BoxJelly, it's like we're trying to be a co-working space for everybody and everything, and maybe even like, you know, doing things that we weren't good at, but they were just needed. You know, so we saw a gap, so we're trying to help. And now it's pretty exciting with, you know, Proto Hub opening up. Hopefully they get their permanent space soon. And then I think there's Rock coming up and these other places.
Now Rock is located at
there's
Iolani.
another one.
Is that the one that's located at Iolani School?
No, it's up the road on Hotel Street.
Oh.
And there's another one that was really cool in Kailua Co-op, and it has like daycare. They're doing daycare and co-working, and I thought that was really cool. Like
that's,
the segment for.
That's a very interesting segment.
Yeah, so it's like now that there are all these different kinds of segments, I think it gives us the opportunity to really do what we want to do and do that well. You know, and then we can just focus on that. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is
actually an interesting change in the sort of the dynamic.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Like middle to end of this year, you're gonna see some really interesting things popping out.
Wow.
And yeah, so kind of going back to the fashion thing.
Yes.
So there are co-working spaces for fashion, there are co-working spaces for tech, there are co-working spaces for, you know, this, that, and the third, and even in, you know, our small ecosystem here, you know, you're gonna see fashion, tech, parents, you know, co-working space for kids.
Yeah.
So we had this this class called Center for Tomorrow Leaders in BoxJelly. They were like in Sundays they would come and do class, and then this group of kids were like, "Yo, like, we want to build a co-working space." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's cute." It's funny because when I was in class, people did that same thing to me, and then they actually went out and they did it. So now they have a space in Kailua, or not Kailua, in Kalihi, and it's a co-working space made by kids, run by kids, for kids.
Wow, how awesome
So these
is
students
that?
are amazing. Yeah, and it's called Canvas Hawaii.
Oh.
So you should go look them up, follow them. But it's becoming very interesting, and I think it's really good.
You know, I think it also is part of a cultural shift too, because we're learning to be much more collaborative since we've had social media. We're learning how we've reinvented sort of the culture of being collaborative. You know, long ago when people worked in factories and it had sort of home factories and home businesses, and then we went into big factories, and it was all piecemeal work, and you did the same thing repetitively all day long.
Matt, sorry, I want to bring it back.
Yes.
One more co-working space that I forgot to mention was House of Maven, which is located within BoxJelly, run by Melissa Kim, and we're looking to see how we can have her kind of spin it off and get her own space.
Okay.
But it's a co-working space for women, but she would kill me if I didn't say anything. But it's a really nice space. I'm like,
okay,
man, I want to work in here too. Like this is great.
Yeah, well, you know, generally where you have a lot of women working, it attracts guys. They want to come and work in the same space too.
Yeah, I think that's
they like the dynamic of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it causes distractions, but.
Yeah, I think sometimes maybe the girls working together is kind of a good thing. Maybe it is for guys too. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is.
It may be a little bit different culture. You're creating a little, you know, I know
it's
in the Marine,
different culture.
having been a Marine in a sort of a very male-dominated environment, you know, our culture was very testosterone-driven. So I can see where sometimes women would like to have their space where they can work with other women.
Talk about like blue startups, man. That was like all women. But
and they're doing great things.
Yeah,
Blue
they're doing good
Startups
things.
continues to do great things with Melly James. So
Melly.
but you know, we were talking about the fashion industry. I met a gentleman the other day, and he was talking about something called sublimation printing, where you can. The equipment used to be very, very expensive. I mean, it was $25,000 for this and $10,000 for that. Well, thanks to technology, all of this equipment, the pricing on the equipment that you need to print on a fabric today has come way down.
Yep.
And so one of the interesting things about this sort of sublimation type printing is that you can do one-offs. And you can pre-cut your patterns to the various sizes. And then people can come in and design what they want. The clothes, they can come up with any print, design, pattern, whatever they want to do. it gets printed out onto the fabric, and then you stitch the fabric together.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
beauty of it is the fabric is already cut to size. So, you know, he has an idea he wants to take and democratize the fashion industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen those machines. They're really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, yeah, technology is coming and things are going to be changing. And,
So, and I see this as kind of like the way of the 3D printer, you know. If people can print and design their own clothes, and you don't have to make a huge investment, you know, a few $1,000s, and you've got a machine where you can create any kind of design that you want. If you're, you know, so the sky's the limit in terms of your artistic ability and your ability to transfer that design onto some kind of a fabric. I just think that's awesome.
Things are getting more and more interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you have the democratization, I guess is a good word to use, anybody can come in and design anything they like.
Yep.
And it's to their own taste. You don't have to go to the store and buy something off the shelf. You can go in and you can design something, and 45 minutes to an hour later, you've got something ready to wear.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, they're interesting things. I think it's really cool that hopefully, you know, things are like more of a meritocracy, or like people who deserve, you know, or just better at what they do, you know, be able to do that. But it's not quite like that yet. But
it's changing, you know, as we see this dynamic of where things used to, you know, the barrier to entry was huge.
It's way lower.
Yeah,
way
as
lower.
that barrier to entry comes down. Now, of course, it has some negative consequences too, which means that things get more competitive.
Yeah.
But on the upside, you've got people that can do things at a more interesting level, more customizable.
Yeah.
I think it's all very exciting.
It's interesting. It's just competitive in a different way, I think.
Yeah.
You know, before it was like getting into the system and then working the system and being competitive within that old paradigm, whereas now it's competitive in a different way. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to commercial. I'm Chris Lethem. This is The Economy and You. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Rechung from the BoxJelly. It's turning out to be a pretty interesting show. Thank you.
We're here with Hunter Haviland because he is a member of our panel on February 26th. We're going to talk about Hawaii, the state of unfunded liabilities. Hi, Hunter.
Hi, Jay.
So what does it look like from your point of view, being on that panel?
Well, part of my work is with the Asia Pacific Center for Regenerative Design. And so with that, we're kind of taking a broader notion of when we talk about liabilities, what are some of the external factors, right? So if we're talking about sustainability across the globe, resilience to natural disasters, our use of natural resources, and how those things do or don't get incorporated into our current understandings of the state of the state.
Yeah, and thus the liabilities and thus the economy. So that's February 26th. It's a Thursday. It's at Laniakea. It starts at 12 noon. Come down 11:30 for lunch. Check out our website to sign up, thinktechhawaii.com. Hunter is one of 7 speakers. We'll be trying to talk to some of the others too, let you know what they're going to do. And sign up. We'll see you there. It'll be important. It's one of the most important things we can think of. Aloha.
Aloha.
Actually, it was like Jay.
Welcome back. I'm Chris Lethem, and this is The Economy and You. Today's guest is Rechung Fujihara from the BoxJelly. And I thought we might, you know, explore a little bit. You know, there's just some amazing things that are happening in the high-tech community. But, you know, there still goes back to the fundamentals of operating a business or starting a business and sort of the gotchas. And I wanted to ask Rechung a little bit about some of the gotchas, some of the life lessons that he's learned in starting a business, and some of the things, the must-dos and the things that you must not do. So why don't you give me a few pointers here, Ray?
Whoa,
Rechung.
okay. That's open-ended. Must-dos and must-not-dos?
Yeah.
Must work hard.
Okay.
I think that's a must-do.
How about defining your vision? How did you go about defining your vision?
Yeah, it's usually been about just doing what I think is best, the way and executing it as best as I can.
So do you bounce ideas off of people? Or?
Yeah, bounce off ideas with people. Kind of like the way that I do it is I like talk to a lot of people, talk to my team, talk to outside people, and then kind of like marinate on it for a while, and then just sit down and just like create a plan, and then just show it to my team.
So you actually take the time to write out a business plan.
I write down ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just kind of like, hey, boom, this is what I see the next like 6 months to be like. Or
Okay.
these are the things I think are done, and these are the priorities. We're doing a planning retreat on Sunday, so that should be really fun. That's kind of just a planning retreat for
planning
BoxJelly
retreat.
staff. So
Oh,
we get
okay.
together and we all just like hang out, and then we basically plan out the next year. And this year there are a few things that we really want to get done. Faster internet. So all you people out there that can help with that. It's kind of crazy. It's like we're in the middle of the ocean without roads. It's like, come on now, like this is crazy. Like, internet, please. Yeah, I don't know, some kind of more crazier ideas, like how do we like integrate meditation into the space to create balance. Yeah.
Rechung Fujihara, or what do you call it? Feng Shui. Or
Yeah, well,
is that a consideration?
flow of the space.
Flow of the
yeah,
space.
Yeah, I don't practice feng shui, but definitely reorganizing the space, flow of the space, aesthetics of the space, changing up the model a little bit, and really just, but like the thinking is like, how do we help people become the most effective at what they do and really create a very productive space to work that people enjoy working in. And they're, co-working can be distracting, and so how do we take advantage of all different situations and create the best kind of
And it's kind of creating a set of social dynamics, right? You have sort of a set of social rules inside a co-working space, right?
Yeah.
I think I saw something on the wall that says if somebody's got both ears plugged in, they don't want to be disturbed. If they've got one, you can talk to them lightly. If they got both open, then you can it's open to communicate with them.
You can talk, just don't talk to people who have their earphones in.
Yeah, so that means they're operating in their own little world. Yeah. So, so what have been some of the gotchas, you think, sort of the hard lessons learned since you started the BoxJelly, which has, of course, been a big win for you?
Yeah. BoxJelly overall has been pretty good to me, and and Tony as well. I think hard lessons learned. Just I guess politics probably was the thing that really I had no idea. Not so much internal, but more like there are all these different actors in the space or the community, and people like vying for position. And it's like a really weird thing. But yeah, that's something that was not touched upon at once in school. So I had like no idea about it. I'm like, oh wow, they're like all these people and all these stakeholders, and you have to like try to figure out,
Everybody has different agendas.
Everyone has a different agenda.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that part was kind of that was a surprise. But for us, we're just pretty much just try to help people and be happy ourselves, and make money doing it. So.
Well, what I've seen is that Google's business model is provide the best information based on what people need, what the people request. It's not about the company or promoting companies. It's really their business model is get people the information
that they want,
the best information that solves the question that they're asking. And sort of get out of the way. And I think in some ways you sort of emulate that, because what I see with the BoxJelly is that you're trying to figure out ways to help people who are coming into the space. It's not just about renting the space. It's also about figuring out what are the what can you do value added for these people to help them grow their ideas. I came in the other day. I met a young lady. She has a website called Create in Hawaii. And when I saw what she was doing and the inspiration that she was getting, to me, her platform reminds me of a tabletop picture book or coffee table picture book.
I can see that.
In that she's using great photography, she's doing backstories on businesses, and they're an interesting read. Now, one of the challenges, of course, for the internet is when people look at things online, they don't generally read, they sort of skim or scan.
Yeah, definitely.
But what I found is that she's really trying very hard to use the right kind of typography so that you can read what she's writing. You'll actually take the time to read it.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
Yes. And so she really understands what she's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of what I sort of call water cooler discussions that go on, and that's probably one of the great things about the co-workspace is that with the water cooler discussion, you sort of bump into people randomly and kind of find out what they're doing and have these really great, these sort of short conversations with them. But also, what I find is that people are sort of inspiring each other.
Yes.
There's
That's
a lot
big
of
part of
attaboys going on in there.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it's about, man. Yeah.
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 And of course, I'm seeing so many new opportunities that build off. Somebody has one idea, somebody else has another idea. They're taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yep.
We see people that try things and they don't succeed.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, well, let's try it a different way. We'll take a different approach to that problem.
Yeah.
And they'll try something else, or they'll go back and they'll maybe do a survey or do some analysis, which I found very interesting. You know, one of the startup weekends, there was a team that were trying to put legislation into a mobile app. Now that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a challenge because one,
legislation
legislation's long. I mean, a piece of legislation can go many, many pages.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily want to read the whole thing. You want to just read the parts of the law that are actually being changed.
Yeah.
Okay. But one of the things that we discovered in that process was that people aren't really interested in reading bills.
Nope.
But they can more adeptly absorb the pros and the cons of something.
Sure.
And they're willing to read that rather than read the entire bill.
It's very confusing.
Yeah, reading legal language, statutory language can be quite heady. You know, I've been writing legislation for 12 years now, and it's always complicated, and there's a lot of definitions in the law you don't
they're like
necessarily
one
understand.
word can like change a thing, but you don't even know that word is that. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a definition for that word somewhere in statute, and of course that's not the common definition that we would use on a daily basis.
Yes.
So, but it exists in statute, therefore that's the meaning that's given to that word.
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges, So I think the idea behind this app was to initially just to try to give people a sense of something and give them the pros and the cons. And that was an interesting
that's a great app.
project, yeah. So we continue to see things like this. Kind of, what would be the ideal situation for the high-tech community to move forward? One of the things that you mentioned was more high-speed internet. We haven't laid any new fiber optic into Hawaii for nearly 20 years, so I can imagine that's at some point soon that's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah, or else we're gonna fall behind.
Yes, we're going to end up being a backwater location for technology.
It's pretty necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the future.
So what do you see as some of the things that would create an ideal environment for us?
Well, I see a lot of people kind of embracing the fact that we're on the island, and we're not another place, but we are people in Honolulu and Hawaii. So continue to kind of work on that and really figuring out what our place is in the global economy. I think that's important. High-speed internet is important. Continuing to education, right? Getting more people educated. So they're doing really cool things with DevLeague and Purple Maya.
And we had this hackathon this last weekend, which was awesome.
Yeah, hackathons are good.
Yeah, and and one of the things I have to tell you I'm excited about is seeing more girls entering into the technology space.
Yeah, I think it's a very, it's great, and I think it's an effort on the part. I know DevLeague is doing a lot to try to encourage that, which is great.
Yes. They're awesome, by the way. I just think that they're awesome.
Yeah, they're doing very good things.
Yeah, they're programming in some of the languages that I haven't used before. Yeah. So it's kind of wow. I now I got to go and sort of sharpen my skills and learn some new programming languages.
Part of the game.
Yes, it is. And one of the things about programming is very dynamic. Languages are changing. New frameworks are added all the time.
Yes.
Even a framework isn't static because people are always changing and adding new features and functionality. Yeah. And so what worked before, all of a sudden you find your code is breaking because you've uploaded a new version and some of the features are deprecated. So
that sounds very frustrating.
Yeah, it's sort of the challenges with doing software development. But the thing that's really interesting, one of the things I think that make Hawaii great is that we have this sort of dual purpose opportunity. we're doing a lot of development, high-tech stuff with the military. And a lot of things that are being developed also can be used in the civilian world, maybe modified or tweaked in some way.
Yeah. Dual use is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I remember, like, Oceanit was doing this, like, these, like, design thinking workshops on, like, these ideas that they had that they were trying to, like, you know, get new avenues for them. And they had this really cool idea of, like, this idea petting zoo that I thought was cool. I don't know if they did it, because I've been kind of, like, hiding out lately, so I haven't been super engaged with the rest of the scene. But that was a really cool idea. So I guess, yeah, dual use is interesting.
Well, I think it creates, you know, new revenue streams for the state, and you know, we now have this sort of SpaceX facility on the Big Island.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of technology and technological development associated with that.
Yeah, like those things, like they have Nelha out there too. Like just having these kind of resources where that's like this like crazy like pipes that come from the ocean, and then they bring water up, and they can do all these really cool things with this like deep sea water. But then sprung like all these really cool companies, you know? And that kind of shows, I think, an interesting place where creating infrastructure, you know, kind of, if you build it, they will come kind of thing.
Yes. And certainly, if we have the infrastructure, you know, what we're seeing too with Google, like in Kansas City and in Singapore,
Google Fiber, yeah.
They're bringing in these fiber optic infrastructure into the community. And it's just going, it's boomtown. It's going crazy.
Yeah. It's super important. I don't think people understand the gravity of the situation and where everything is headed, and yeah, things are gonna get way more interesting in the next like 15-20 years.
Yeah.
And technology is gonna be changing a lot of things, so
that's right.
It's a good time to start thinking about that.
So thinking about all the people that are working, who's your favorite BoxJelly collaborator these days?
My favorite BoxJelly collaborator.
You got a favorite? We've got Fish Cake, we got High Cap.
Yeah, I mean, I've been 50-50 agency. They're cool. Of course, Fish Cake. You know, it's like the family business, and they're really stepping it up. Like, we're doing some really cool things. You'll see them rolling out in the next like 3 to 6 months. Oh,
is that right? Okay, excellent.
And then, yeah, of course, like for me, I've just like really been enjoying working with Benny at Moon. Super talented guy, first-time entrepreneur.
Here's the photo shot of your website.
Oh yeah, that's Calvin.
Yeah, is that Calvin?
Yeah, that's Calvin. Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he was going in the Appalachian Mountains and stuff like that recently.
And he loves to work out. So, you know, one of the things that I always tell people about programmers, there is no set definition of what a programmer or computer geek is. You know, we sort of cover the gamut.
Yeah.
And so you'll see people that are really athletic, and like Calvin, he loves to run and exercise, and he still loves to program.
Yeah, he's super brilliant. So hopefully he stops by soon.
Well, if you get a chance, I would ask people to come by and visit the BoxJelly. It's a very interesting place. I think you'll meet some really amazing people down there. I'm Chris Lethem. Today's guest is Rechung Fujihara from the BoxJelly. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you again next week, Wednesday at noon. Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha.